All right, here we go. It's official. The 12 clubs set to compete in next season's Scottish Premiership have now been confirmed. Livingston are back up Ross County and dropped down, and that's already stirring up plenty of chat among the fans. There's the obvious upside here. For Celtic supporters, getting tickets for away days at Livingston is much easier than a trek up north to Dingwall for Ross County. But then on the flip side, you've got the not so small issue of the playing surface. And let's be honest, when you're talking about Livingston, it's near impossible not to bring the pitch into the conversation. So let's dive right in. Livingston confirmed yesterday that they'll be laying down a brand new pitch ahead of the upcoming season. I know they're not moving to grass. They're sticking with artificial, just upgrading it. The new surface will be the latest generation of something called MX Select. It's being marketed as a high-performance woven synthetic system, supposedly offering the best possible playing conditions for professional football. Sounds fancy, right? But at the end of the day, it's still a plastic pitch, and it still means Celtic will be playing several top-flight matches on synthetic surfaces next season. In fact, Livingston's new pitch will be one of 3 artificial surfaces Celtic will face in the Premiership next season. The others Falkirk, who've been promoted, and Kilmarnock's Rugby Park. Now it's worth noting that Kilmarnock had initially planned to ditch their plastic surface and return to grass for this upcoming campaign. But those plans have been pushed back, and now they're aiming to make the switch for the start of the 2026-27 season instead. And that's not just a random target. That season is actually when all artificial pitches are meant to be banned from the Scottish Premiership. You might remember last year the Premiership clubs voted to outlaw synthetic surfaces from the top flight starting with the 26-27 campaign. That decision still stands. So essentially next season is supposed to be the final one where plastic pitches are allowed in the league. That said, Falkirk aren't just accepting it quietly. They've made it clear they plan to challenge the ban. Whether they'll succeed is another question entirely, but from a Celtic point of view, you'd really hope that's a fight they don't win. The thought of even more plastic pitches lingering around beyond next season is not exactly appealing. So looking ahead to next season, we're talking about 3 to 6 Premiership fixtures that Celtic will play on artificial turf depending on how the fixtures land. After that, fingers crossed the league will be fully grass again, as it should be. But here's the thing that really raises eyebrows. Livingston, knowing full well that plastic pitches are on the way out, have decided to invest in a brand new artificial surface anyway. Why? What's the point in laying down a new pitch if, assuming they manage to stay up, they'll be forced to rip it out again after just one season? That's the part that makes absolutely no sense. It's a strange decision, and you've got to question the logic behind it. And look, Livingston is a club. We kind of know what we're going to get. Solid side, tough to break down, especially at home. And of course, there's always the added challenge of that surface. The stadium, now called the Set Fair Arena, although I don't think anyone's rushing to call it that, has actually been a decent away day in the past when it's had a natural surface. But with this new plastic one coming in, that's not going to help things, especially from a footballing perspective. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, with Ross County dropping out, it's a bit of a shame in some ways. They always brought a unique dynamic to the league, being one of the few Highland clubs in the top flight. It's a long journey, sure, but there's something special about those trips to the Highlands. As for St. Johnstone, who've also gone down, nothing personal, but most fans won't be losing sleep over them being out of the Premiership for a while. But while we're on the subject of pitches, there's big news at Celtic Park too. If you've been past the stadium recently, you'll have noticed things are looking a bit different. The pitch has been completely dug up. That's right, Celtic are installing a brand new surface at Paradise ahead of the new season. And we've actually had some brilliant drone footage of the work being done courtesy of Gio, the same guy who usually provides all the match day photos. He was out there last Friday capturing everything from above, and the footage is seriously impressive. The entire surface has been ripped up a couple of tractors working away, and while I'm no expert at describing construction work, there's no denying they're getting on with it quickly. Let's be honest, the pitch at Celtic Park hasn't exactly been perfect in recent seasons. There have been complaints here and there, and even Brendan Rodgers mentioned back in his first stint at a club that the hybrid pitch had picked up a bit of a disease. That was around 2019, and ever since then it's had its fair share of problems, especially in the winter months. There were moments last season where the surface looked a bit bobbly, and for a team that relies on quick passing and fluid movement, that's never ideal. The club's aiming to have everything ready in time for the home friendly against Newcastle United on the 19th of July. That gives them around 8 weeks to get the new surface properly bedded. In and from the looks of it, they're wasting no time. And here's the thing, Rangers won the new SPFL Pitch of the Season award this year. Yeah, I know. And while it might be tempting to shrug it off or have a laugh about it, let's be honest, inside Celtic, seeing Rangers win anything even, something off the pitch tends to get people's attention. If that little award is what it takes to refocus minds on improving the surface at Parkhead, then maybe it's a good thing in the long run. So that's what's happening with the main pitch, but over at Barrowfield, there's progress being made too. You probably know that Barrowfield's being redeveloped to become the new home for Celtic women and the boys and girls academies. It was supposed to be finished last year, around September or October, but it's running behind schedule. Now it's looking like it'll finally be ready in the next few weeks. Gio with his trusty drone also flew over Barrowfield last Friday, and you can see that there's quite a bit going on there. A few pitches being laid down, including an indoor one, and everything's within walking distance of Celtic Park, which is brilliant. Once it's all done, it'll be a massive step forward for the club's infrastructure, especially for the women's and youth teams. Now, shifting gears slightly, the Celtic FC Foundation got people talking yesterday with a rather cryptic post. It simply read, "We're getting the band back together. See you September the 6th, 2025. Love, Celtic FC Foundation." And as you'd expect, that sent fans into speculation mode. Some were joking about it being some sort of rebel music festival at Glasgow Green. Unlikely, though funny. In reality, it's far more likely we're looking at another charity match. The date, early September, falls during an international break, which is typically when these exhibition games take place. We've had a few good ones recently. Last season, Celtic played Manchester United at Old Trafford in one of these matches. And before that, it was Liverpool at Anfield. Both games had big crowds and strong Celtic support, and fans who went generally had a great time. And it does seem like these charity matches are becoming a bigger deal. There's been a shift away from the days when random celebrities would be thrown into the squad for a laugh. Now it's more structured, more competitive, and with a higher standard of football. Players have to meet certain criteria, and there's a real effort to make the games feel like proper events. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we end up seeing United or Liverpool coming to Celtic Park for the return leg of sorts. Continuing with the updates from inside the club, there's been a bit of movement on the goalkeeping front as well. Reports now suggest that Scott Bain will be allowed to leave Celtic this summer. That's been on the cards for a while. He's still got 1 year left on his contract, but after slipping down to third choice keeper and barely featuring at all. In recent seasons, it seems both the club and the player agree it's time to move on. The writing's been on the wall, really. Bain's been a solid professional during his time here, but when you're not getting any minutes and you're heading into your 30s, it makes sense to go somewhere you'll actually play. So with Bain on his way out, the question naturally turns to who's going to replace him in the squad. The name being mentioned most is Ross Doohan, a former Celtic Academy product who's now with Aberdeen. He was on the bench for them in the Scottish Cup final last weekend, but he's not getting much game time there either. For him, a move back to Celtic, even as a third choice, would probably mean better wages and the comfort of familiar surroundings. More importantly, from the club's perspective, he ticks the homegrown box, which becomes all the more relevant with Bain departing. Now some fans might be wondering why Celtic wouldn't just promote someone directly from the B team into that third keeper role. After all, the odds of actually needing a third choice goalkeeper during the season are slim. Unless there's some sort of mad injury crisis or something completely unforeseen, that player's not going to see a competitive minute. But the problem is, if you promote the B team's starting goalkeeper to the first team setup, they'd likely miss a lot of actual match experience. First team and B team games often overlap, especially midweek, and Celtic need their youth players playing as much as possible, not sitting on the bench wearing a bib for 9 months. So bringing in someone like Doohan seems to strike the right balance. Someone experienced enough to be trusted if needed, but not blocking the pathway for younger keepers who still need minutes in the lower tiers. Still, it's not exactly the most pressing issue facing the squad this summer. The third goalkeeper slot is one of those things that tends to sort itself out quietly. What fans are really focused on is the need for proper reinforcements, particularly up front. The team badly needs a new striker. There's also plenty of chat about the left-back situation and what's going on with Greg Taylor. At the moment, There's been complete silence from the club on that front. No official word on whether he's staying or going, no talk of contract extensions, nothing. It's not unusual for Celtic to go quiet after a tough result, like the cup final defeat last weekend, but fans are definitely starting to ask questions. Will there be a statement confirming his exit, or will it turn out he signed a new deal behind the scenes? Time will tell. But with the transfer window just around the corner, you'd hope the club are already working behind the scenes to get things moving early. Celtic don't have the luxury of waiting until the last minute. The Champions League qualifiers might not be in play this year, but there's still a need to get the squad settled quickly, especially if we want to build momentum going into pre-season. Supporters will be keeping a close eye on any updates over the next few weeks, looking for signs that the recruitment team have learned the lessons of previous windows and are ready to act decisively. As always, the summer brings plenty of uncertainty, but also a bit of hope. There's a real opportunity here to refresh the squad, address some long-standing issues, and come back stronger next season. The pitch is being relayed, the training grounds nearly finished, and if the recruitment is right, this team can push forward again. Plenty to keep an eye on and plenty still to talk about as we head towards June. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Glasgow is awash with speculation this week as word spreads that none other than Sergio Ramos, the legendary Spanish defender, could be set for a sensational short-term deal with Celtic. While nothing has been confirmed officially, whispers from Parkhead suggest that the Hoops are on the verge of pulling off one of the most astonishing signings in recent Scottish football history. The rumor mill went into overdrive late last night after a well-placed source hinted that negotiations had advanced significantly, with Ramos reportedly keen on a new challenge before hanging up his boots for good. The 39-year-old icon, known for his no-nonsense defending and knack for scoring crucial goals, has been without a club since parting ways with Sevilla at the end of last season. Now it seems the pull of European nights under the lights at Celtic Park might just be enough to tempt him north. Insiders close to the club claim that a short-term contract is being discussed, likely running until the end of the current campaign, as Brendan Rodgers looks to bolster his defensive ranks ahead of a crucial run-in both domestically and in Europe. Celtic fans naturally have been quick to voice their excitement and disbelief across social media, with many dreaming of seeing Ramos don the famous green and white hoops. Of course, there are those urging caution, pointing out that talks are still ongoing and that Ramos's wage demands could be a stumbling block. Others question whether the Spanish stalwart would adapt to the physical rigors of the Scottish Premiership at this stage of his illustrious career. But make no mistake, the mere possibility of a player of Ramos's caliber arriving in Glasgow has ignited imaginations and sparked fevered debate from Govan to Gorgie. Whether this turns out to be a masterstroke of transfer cunning or just another tantalizing rumor remains to be seen. For now, the city waits, watches, and wonders. Could Sergio Ramos really be about to swap Seville's sunshine for the East End of Glasgow? Only time will tell, but in Scottish football, stranger things have certainly happened. Hello fans! Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.